Yeah, because I want to hear from some of the people out there. And Frank from Herman, Maine wrote in. Herman, actually, it's Hermon. So not like the Herman Munster, but Herman, Maine. Just thanked us. He was just very nice. He wrote, he's been a fan for years. He's been to wrestling in Bangor. Bangor almost killed her. And you know, all over Maine since he's been a kid. And he thanked us both for all that we've done for him, and we don't even know who he is.
Wait, is he from Maine?
We'd like to keep it that way.
Is he from Maine, or his name is Herman Maine?
Yes, no, if I said Frank from Herman, Maine.
Oh, I thought you said his name was Herman Maine. I'm sorry.
No, you're thinking of Norman, Maine, maybe from the wasn't that A Star Is Born, Norman, Maine? Well, Herman, Maine is a place, and Frank is a guy. See, follow along, Brian. I'm being as clear as I can possibly be. I'm not trying to be obtuse or opaque. But he thanked us. Listening to us both makes me escape the pressures of life with my job and my family life for a few hours. Apparently, his family must suck. No, he says, I'm not saying anything's bad. He actually says that. I'm not saying anything's bad, but it's nice to escape. Escape for he's in the Manson family. He has to escape from these people.
Oh, come on. Nice.
Well, Frank from Herman, Maine. There's probably not that many Franks in Herman, Maine, so you may have some trouble now if your immediate family listens to this.
If you ever leave town, just call yourself Herman, Maine. Rob Recksteiner going to Rick Steiner. Just call yourself Herman, Maine.
Herman, Maine. You know, maybe that's what Seth Rollins should have changed his name to instead of from Tyler Black. Instead of Seth Rollins, he could have been Herman, Maine.
That's the ultimate test of a wrestler, if they can get over with the name Herman.
Herman Hickman did it.
When was that? What year?
Well, the 40s.
Buddy Rogers did it as soon as he dropped the name Herman.
As soon as he changed his name. Wait a minute, there has to have been another Herman
Munster did it for one episode. Herman Munster did it for one episode.
That's only because Gene LaBelle would put him over.
But it was at the Olympic.
Anyway, our next team, a very serious situation here that David from San Diego wrote in. He's been in the hospital for a couple weeks, checked himself in because he had health issues. Obviously, you don't go to the hospital and check in because you want to have a vacation. So he's in the hospital with health issues. And I said this was serious, but he's feeling better because he caught it in time. He said they said I was lucky to check in when I did. Otherwise, all she wrote. But he's feeling better and he's going to be out in a week or so. And he's been listening to the shows to, I guess, take his mind off of, we've talked about those hospital mattresses. Now, if I were you now, David, especially in San Diego, where it's a very warm area, I'd move around on those things every once in a while. Your skin will grow to the covering in the hospital mattress. Then when you sit up one day, you've just torn your whole back off.
Well, the other thing is, and I don't know when he sent this in, but, we have friends in San Diego. Hello, Andre. Speaking of our friends in San Diego.
Andre the Giant.
But they just had an earthquake. So was he in the hospital when the earthquake happened? It was like a 5.1.
Well, are you insinuating that he needs an alibi?
That's not what I'm insinuating in any way.
Somebody needs to know, he needs to back up. Where were you when this earthquake happened? Like in some way that he was contributory?
David, you may want to contact Andre. He may be able to help you with whatever problems Jim's trying to incriminate you with here on the air. That he caused the earthquake? What do you think he did? Did he have some kind of sonic ray?
You said, was he in the hospital while they had the earthquake? Like, as long as he's out of action, we don't have to suspect him?
Imagine you're in an earthquake that's, moving around for a good minute, and you're in the hospital. You're hooked up to all sorts of shit. There's things beeping and bopping all over the place. What's that like?
Bibbidi, bibbidi, bobbidi. Bibbidi, bobbidi. If I'm in an earthquake, I want to be in the fucking hospital. I'm as close as I can possibly be to the fucking doctors.
Again,
no place better to be.
But you're going with the idea there's not going to be a lot of structural damage around your room?
Well, then somebody can carry my ass out of there because there's orderlies.
Orderlies.
See, and here's there's the orderlies. They're going to come in and they're going to go room to room and carry people out. And think about this now, too, that if there is structural damage all over the city from an earthquake, then are they going to go to your house individually? Or are they going to start with the hospital to rescue all of the people in the hospital? So you need to be, in the case of an earthquake, run to your local hospital.
I don't know if that's the official advice that the state of California or anyone gives people. I think it's find a safe place and just stay there.
You can't dispute my logic.
You know what? You make sense. That's the scary part. The more you talk about it, the more sense you make.
See, now at least you've acknowledged this. So acknowledge me.
I'll acknowledge David. We hope you feel better.
And straighten up now here for a second. Jason from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, has been listening to the program. His wife just passed away. She was only 38 years old. And they were married for 7 years. And obviously he said he's been listening as a distraction. And I can't even imagine, how he must feel or, what you would need to be, what kind of entertainment would be needed to distract you is what I'm trying to say, Jason. But we're all thinking about you, not only me and Brian, but everybody out there. And we're not going to make fun of you for any of this because of all you may have wanted us to, but get back with us later on. But in the meantime, we're just thinking about you. And Brian agrees.
I have no idea who this man is, but yeah.
And then, here's somebody who that they are. I'll tell you.
Oh no,
our friend John Fell in Baltimore. Do you know what he has done?
Oh no, is he hurt again?
No. He actually they got him one of those chairs to where now he can just blow in the tube and then it moves him around without him having to.
I didn't know it got that far. I mean, that took a big leap from he fell down to he's got a special chair that he has to operate with wind.
Well, they don't want him to stand up anymore because it always happens and they're sick and tired of going and fetching him.
John, one of the true nice guys out there, John Fell in Baltimore.
Yes, there's still a couple out there and he's one of them. They're roving the prairies in the wild. But what he did was he sent me, I'll have you know, a 3 CD set is what it is. Did you know that Jimmy Page and the Black Crowes did that's not a duet because there's multiple crows, but did a combined effort of a show at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, and they've done a 3-disc set. Have you heard about this with your music industry connection?
I knew that they had done a thing together. I hadn't, I don't have the release.
Well, he sent me said release, and it's not, he didn't even burn it on a white CD and fucking write on it with Sharpie and send it to me. This is actually a professionally done type of operation here, but they do Zeppelin and Crows stuff, which I've just got this in the mail and I've not got the chance to even stick it in yet, as they say, but the set list on the back, Hard to Handle, Misty Mountain Hop, What Is and What Should Never Be, Remedy, The Lemon Song, Shake Your Moneymaker, Heartbreaker, She Talks to Angel. They're pulling out all the big hits, and they've got each other there to support themselves, however you might phrase that. So thank you, John. And if you hear this, I know they've also got a thing. He can write notes now. If he just sticks another thing in his mouth and goes toot toot, he can write an email.
All right. I heard he's going to join Def Leppard as their new singer.
And also at the same time, he's going to be drumming with his feet. Anyway, you know what else I got?
I have no idea. No. What could it be?
Well, here's another.
Is it another letter from Herman?
I can see you're excited. Herman Maine. I can see you're excited about this. Russell Mansfield. He says, no relation to Eddie Mansfield. And I've lost, he doesn't have his address on this. It's on the envelope, which I don't have. So I don't know where Russell resides. He resides in Russellville. WrestleMania is running wild. But he resells new old stuff or old new stuff. You know what I'm saying to you, Brad? He acquires and resells vintage items, but he specializes in stuff that is old, but it was never sold. It's still in the package. It was still in a store consignment or so. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe you don't.
No, I do. I was just waiting for this to go somewhere.
For this to go. So, well, I'm trying to get you to agree with me.
I
so
agree
I can
with
move
you.
on.
I agree with you. He does what he's claiming that he does, whoever this may be.
That's what he does.
WrestleMania.
Well, he sent me, remember we were talking about the old audio cassettes that I taped the wrestling shows on? I said the Radio Shack Sertron cassettes, you got them like 3 for $3 or whatever. Come to find out it was $2.59. He sent me a package, unopened package of 3 Radio Shack Sertron tapes from the 70s. And a Radio Shack mini cassette recorder. The thing, like, remember the story with Shivani had that Stan Lane fucked with him about, that he was making his memo notes on the road with. He sent me one of those, and I actually needed that, and it's new in the box. I can just put batteries in it because I have old mini cassettes from my old answering machines in the 80s that I have no way of playing. I have messages from many wrestling greats and or near greats and people that have been dead for 30 years.
Oh man, those calls must be amazing. Those calls must be amazing. Jim, it's me, Zombie Brody. I've been dead 30 years. I'm calling you.
Brody never called me. We had a couple of polite interactions, but he never called me on the phone. And here, this guy that wrote here, his name is Ken, and he is from Marietta, Georgia, and he has a confession to make. Brian, would you like to hear what that is?
Sure.
Okay, well, because he's going to spill his guts here now and admit to everything. Hey, Jim, I just wanted to apologize for something I did to you about 40 years ago. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I figured out where you guys all entered the Omni for a show. At the time, I wasn't smartened up quite yet, and I flipped you off. You weren't very amused and told me sternly not to do that. I just said, okay. Now in my 50s, I think of you driving in the car hundreds of miles, and as soon as you step out and stretch your legs, some little snot has given you the finger. First, thank you for how you handled it. I needed to be called out for that. And secondly, as an adult, I understand all of what you guys went through to make a living. I sincerely apologize and ask for your forgiveness. Either way, thank you for your time. Ken from Marietta, Georgia. Well, fuck you, Ken, you little snot. You gave me the finger. After I'd ridden 250 miles with my legs all cramped up and stove up. And I don't accept your apology.
What did he say that you said to him? It's like, and you told me that's not nice. Or what did he say?
He said, you told me sternly not to do that.
Don't do that. Is that what you would say?
I don't remember the specific interactions, but I almost have a feeling it would have been more colorful, except maybe I was in a rush. Because we'd be in a hurry. Sometimes the Omni was the second of a double shot. We had an afternoon show, so we were rushing in. But yes, that was the area outside the Omni. And by the way, Ken, you're forgiven. You're old now, and if you were going to make it in life, you would have done it at this point. So I can laugh as I look down on you. Well, no, but that area back in the Omni, The people would know that the guys, whether it was cabs or rental cars or their own cars or however, you had to go in the back door of the employee slash athlete entrance. That's where the basketball players went in if they were having a ball game or whatever the case. And the people could crowd back there, and they had cops to keep them from just molesting you and just, putting their hands all over your body. But they would be out there to hoot and holler and gesticulate and everything. And that's where Bubba, the cab driver, slammed the cab door on his hand and it latched with his fingers in the fucking door, and he wouldn't sell it because there was 200 people standing back there watching him. So it was a very public area. So I might have chastised him for doing it in front of small children. And or there was ladies in the audience. There was a number of ladies back there that would be hanging around waiting to see when the guys came in so that they could later on see when the guys were going to come out.
Beyond the ladies, when you think about your time as a fan, and let's say the 80s specifically, because that was kind of the end of a certain type of fan, how many of the fans that stayed around or were there at the beginning around the back wanted to yell at the wrestlers because of genuine heat versus this is the fun thing to do? We go there and we start yelling at the bad guys.
Well, both of those things can be true and kind of were. They had fun yelling at the bad guys because they didn't like the fucking bad guys and they wanted to fucking, top their friend in insulting them or trying to get a rise out of somebody or whatever. But honestly, it was more about they wanted to see the baby faces and they tolerated hooting at the heels in the process. When I was a kid in the 70s going to the matches at the Gardens, the most dedicated fans would wait out, but there was in those days, there's a parking garage behind the Louisville Gardens now, and you can barely drive the width of a car up to the back door. But in those days, there was another building behind the Gardens, and there was room for two cars to go past, each other in this alleyway all the boys would park in the alley where the cops could keep the people from coming up and fucking with their cars, right? And you could still get by and everything. But the overflow, or in the old days, before they figured that out, everybody wanted to hang out around the back door to see if Jackie Fargo was going to, when's Jackie going to get here? Or Eddie Marlin and Tommy Gilbert, or they're all talking about seeing the baby faces. It was only the girls of the select few of those that met the requirements. And every once in a while, a couple of asshole guys that wanted to hang out and see any of the heels. And that was usually somebody like Lawler when he was first getting over because he was kind of cool. But nobody was going back there to see the heels. They were going back to see the baby faces and get pictures with the baby or get the baby faces autograph or whatever. They knew the heels weren't going to sign any autographs, and they probably weren't going to stop for their pictures, and they probably weren't going to ask to begin with. So all the interaction was with the big baby faces. And even, hey, kids, they'll take a picture with Chief Bobby Bold Eagle all day long, even though he's in the first match. So that was the thing. What were we talking about?
What were we talking about? A fan giving you the finger at the Omni.
Well, and and so fuck him. But yeah, the fans hanging around. No, it was not like anybody was. I want to get a selfie with Kurt and Carl von Bronner, whatever the fuck.
What was?
Here's another. This is okay. Ask me what you're going to ask me.
I only went there twice. But what was the story with Barberville? Like, the phenomenon when we left town, was it just the Fan Week buses, or was it always like this? When we left town, it seemed like the entire town lined the streets to watch us leave like we were a parade. It was odd. It was one of the oddest things I've ever experienced. What was
it? Was that in the bus, right?
Yes.
Okay, well.
The first year.
Well, I wasn't on the bus, so I can't say firsthand, but I'm thinking if you got that reaction, it was partly because, they knew that you people, it was the same thing. Remember in Louisville, obviously it caused a stir. The Smoky Mountain fans are up there in that section.
No, that was a little different. That was an actual riot about like in the midst of breaking out when they got defused. Barberville was scared. Like
you were presented as heels and etc. But in Barberville, you were just people from outside fucking town. I mean, they know everybody. The population of Barberville, was it 6,000 people? I don't know. You might want to Google it while I'm just meandering on. But they saw that bus that wasn't from their high school. They might have thought another goddamn rival county school was invading or something. They were just odd to see strangers in town late at night in Barberville. And then when you were there, what would the crowd have been? What was the date on that? That was August of '94. Would we have had 800 people, 1,000 people in the gym?
Maybe around there. Something. Yeah, and it was right after the Night of Legends.
The best we ever did, I think, in Barberville, when we had the Steiners there, I think we did like 1,200, but nevertheless, there's 1,000 people in a town of 5,000 people.
No, the population, according to the 2020 census. Oh, no, excuse me, that was 2000. The 2010 census, 3,165.
Okay. So we had 33% of the people in town staring at you weird looking fuckers dressed as you are. The accents all stood out for the most part. And you come into the wrestling show, they wanted to see who the fuck you were. That's the same. Barberville's the same place I took Rick Rubin to the fucking Pizza Hut.
I don't know. I don't know the Pizza Hut story, I don't think.
The only time that Rick Rubin ever came out, when he was first working on the first album with Johnny Cash, American Recordings, this was going to be his first meeting with Johnny in Hendersonville. That's when I drove Rubin to Johnny Cash's house in Hendersonville and had lunch there. In that incredible fucking place he had out on the lake with all those antiques. But Rubin said, well, he didn't like to fly like me. He said, since I'm coming out there, he came to the Smoky Mountain shows on, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I took him to Hendersonville. But when we went to Barberville, and nobody knew who he was, see, that's the thing. Everybody thought it was Cat Collins' friend, right? Because they knew Cat. He'd worked with everybody in Southeastern. They didn't think he was bringing some eccentric goddamn multi-millionaire record producer with him. They thought he was some kind of fucking hippie bum friend of Cat Collins's. And anyway, but we end up in Barberville, and Barberville was a Saturday night show, and we get out at 10 o'clock. And Rubin says, where can we eat somewhere? Well, okay. Pizza Hut was basically the thing, besides if we wanted to stop at a gas station to get a Subway. Everything else would have closed at 9 o'clock, except, and that would have probably closed too, except it's Saturday night. So Pizza Hut was open. And Rubin's a vegetarian. So imagine for the people who've seen Rubin now with the long beard and the sunglasses, just imagine that the gray beard is black and he's got more hair on his head and he's still got the sunglasses on and he's got that accent. And we walk into Pizza Hut and he asks the woman, he wanted the thin crust with the tomato sauce, but no cheese, and then a variety of vegetables like mushrooms and green peppers on it and something else. And she looked at him. She said, you ain't from around here, are you? She said, I remembered if you'd come in and ordered that before. And so, yeah, a guy that was, as we were sitting there, I said, because he's so laid back, right? I said, Rick, you do realize that you actually have enough money where you could go lot to lot in this town and buy the entire fucking thing. and you're eating at Pizza Hut at 10:15 on a Saturday night in Barberville, Kentucky.
It was such an odd look to the town.
Good. It's well, they were good God-fearing wrestling fans down there, Brian.
But it looked like a set. Like, it didn't look real. Like, when we went through town to get to the arena, there was no one on the streets. When we left, everyone was on the streets. So it was just like an empty, like, lot, like a film set.
Well, when you got in, it was Saturday during the day. Nobody's downtown. But then everybody was getting out of the matches. Going back out of wherever the fuck they came from. I don't know. Anyway, now the people of Barberville are highly upset at you now for calling their town some kind of names. I'm not sure what. They could take it positively. It looks like a movie set. They may put that on the next Chamber of Commerce brochure. Brian Last of Arcadian Vanguard said we look like a movie set.
The movie being Deliverance, yes.